In 2009, two vastly different men were trying to prove that they deserved to be the host of The Tonight Show. Back and forth insults, the media in a frenzy, and riots in the streets. This wasn't just about TV
Wait, rioting over
ratings. It was about integrity, morality, and tradition. On one side, you had Jay Leno, the #1 late-night host in America for over a decade. Jay's humor was simple and formulaic, which earned him a broad mainstream appeal of typically middle Americans who were perhaps a bit headstrong, people
and simple. Yep.
who didn't like change. On the other side, you had Conan O'Brien, the man who had been ravaged by the media, labeling him painfully unfunny and
What? Painfully unfunny? Man, unbelievable. I genuinely think he's funny. I know humor is subjective, but still, geez Louise.
annoying, but became so wildly loved, earning him a cult-like fan base of young people who valued his wacky, risky, and non-conventional comedic style. In 2004, NBC struck a deal with Conan that explicitly said in 2009 Jay Leno would step down as host of The Tonight Show, and Jay agreed to this deal. When 2009 came, Conan hosted the show for a measly 7 months before being forced out by NBC. They gave the job back to Jay Leno. One of the
But he was supposed to retire. I actually remember this drama. Yo.
shadiest, messiest, and perfect examples of Hollywood corruption just took place in front of the whole world, and outrage erupted. Today we are going to deep dive into all of the details that led to the most chaotic controversy in late-night entertainment history. Make sure you're drinking water. Since its inception in the 1950s, late-night programming has fulfilled the desire of networks to expand their broadcast hours and capitalize on the economic opportunity presented by a nighttime audience. In the beginning, it typically appealed to
Whose parents watched late night shows and then eventually you started watching a little bit of late night shows? That's kind of how it was with me. Yeah, it was always the adults watched it when you went to bed, and then like eventually when you got old enough, they'd let you watch it with them. Yeah.
adults who
That's
worked
pretty
all
common.
day. Now the kids are asleep, and it's finally time to relax in front of the TV. The shows were
Exactly.
scheduled every night, Monday through Friday, typically around 11:30 p.m., directly after the local news. The format included interviews, comedy sketches, and musical performances with various celebrities, politicians, and public figures. The relaxed, informal setting truly felt like you were just hanging out and having a laugh. Late-night programming got Americans more connected to and invested in pop culture, leading to them wanting to consume more movies, music, and entertainment. Late-night programming has also historically been a breeding ground for innovative comedy, because who wants to watch something overly serious or informational after a hard day's work? Late-night television launched the careers of countless iconic comedians.
Again, Chet, you have to understand there's so many people in America playing simple and being simple and watching this kind of stuff also lets you mingle with simpletons in real life. Like, oh, did you catch the show last night? It gets you talking, you know?
At one point, it seemed like the only way to become a successful comedian was by getting a spot on Johnny Carson or David Letterman. However, there is one obviously important factor that makes late-night TV thrive, and that's the host. When you have millions of viewers tuning in night after night, in addition to having A-list stars come and hang out, you need to have charm, intelligence, wittiness, someone who can relate to the masses.
I don't know about intelligence. Ask me how I know.
Yet have natural conversations with celebrities. Hosting a late-night TV program is one of the most coveted positions in the entertainment industry, and it's typically sought after by comedians. They get to have a consistent job where their comedy and likeness is exposed to millions of viewers every single night. They get to be on the cutting edge of pop culture, which maintains their relevance, not to mention the multi-year, multi-million-dollar contracts. Choosing the perfect late-night host is a big business decision, one that doesn't just impact the network or the comedian, but the entire entertainment industry. And in 1992, television witnessed a major change as Johnny Carson, the most iconic late-night host in TV history, retired from The Tonight Show, marking the end of an era that spanned 3 decades.
Damn.
Carson's final episode.
People hate change. Yeah, just on a base level, like, it just, people hate that shit. stepping into someone's shoes after 30 years is really, really like daunting.
Was an emotional farewell, watched by over 50 million viewers.
Damn.
When he retired, audiences and the television industry alike couldn't imagine anyone living up to the impeccable standards he set. Replacing Carson would be like sitting on a golden throne in Hollywood. His hard work and diehard fan base would essentially just be given to you. Many expected David Letterman, who had been hosting Late Night since 1982, to be Carson's natural successor. Letterman's show had been airing at 12:30 a.m. directly after Johnny Carson for more than a decade, so they had very similar audiences. However, NBC chose Jay Leno over David Letterman as Carson's replacement. If you ever need a lawyer, Morgan & Morgan makes it easy. All law firms are not the same. Morgan & Morgan is the biggest for a reason. Because they've won a lot. Your injury could be worth millions, and Morgan & Morgan don't settle for any lowballs. In the past couple of months, they saw verdicts of $12 million in Florida, 34 times the highest insurance offer, $26 million in Philadelphia, 40 times the highest offer, $6.8 million in New York, 25 times the highest offer. They have over 4,000 support staff available to help you with your case at any time. The best part is their fee is absolutely free unless you win. You can submit a claim with America's largest injury law firm in just one click. You can start your claim now at www.forthepeople.com/Patrick,
if you break your neck,
or
go
click
to
the
Morgan
link in the
Morgan.
description. Thanks, Morgan & Morgan.
That's right!
In 1992, Jay Leno was a seasoned comedian, well-respected and well-liked by his comedy peers. He was no Carlin or Seinfeld, but he was funny enough for the 80s and 90s. Throughout his come-up, he was a regular on Johnny Carson.
Funny enough! You should be getting the best!
Whose fan base thought he was hilarious.
That's what you do. You try the jokes out on the road, and then you bring them back and you do them on Monday. You know.
Are you on the, remember when I traveled this summer, they gave me a, which I'd never gotten before, the extra mileage or free bonus? What is that?
I'm on the Delta one, the Frequent Survivor program.
However, there is a deeper reason why Leno got the position over Letterman. First of all, it's important that Leno would sometimes host as a replacement for Carson, so he was well known and well liked by the NBC.
I always thought Jay Leno looked like a Oblivion character that maxed out chin. You know, the chin, you know. That's what, I can't stop looking at it. I'm sorry.
Staff and executives.
It
he also
hurts.
did a little bit of spy work around the offices. Leno hid in a closet-like office.
Oh, he's a rat. Oh, that's a good sign.
Beneath his Burbank
Rat.
studio to listen in on a conference call taking place among NBC executives. They were discussing who should follow Johnny Carson as host of The Tonight Show, Leno or David Letterman. While they argued, Leno took notes on what people thought of him and his show. Best of all, he knew exactly who was for him and who was against him. Through his detective work, Leno knew exactly who to please and exactly what he needed to essentially.
So he's a rat. Like, just make your. You shouldn't do that. Just be the best you can be. He's a ratto.
Change about himself to get the job. Rick Ludwin, the vice president of NBC from 1983 to 2012, said dealing with Dave Letterman had become bothersome and draining, and he could be unnecessarily rude to network people, not just me. So did that factor into my decision as to going with Jay Leno over David Letterman? You bet it did. Just like many other jobs in life, whether or not one person is more qualified than the other is not necessarily the deciding factor as to who gets the job. It's how well liked you are by the powerful people who make those decisions.
Yeah, and whose ass you sniffed. Or in this case, whose ass you, like, scraped your chin on.
Jay Leno has a reputation for being a great guy, a people pleaser, a humble and kind man. But remember, he also had the inside scoop as to who he needed to impress to get the job. Letterman may have been slightly rough around the edges, but that could have been the reason why he was much funnier than Jay.
I'm not angry. I'm not angry at NBC about this.
Right.
Not angry at Jay Leno about this. Not angry at you or the Tonight Show about this. I mean, realistically, if it were not for you, I wouldn't have a show, and you know, I wouldn't have socks actually if it weren't for you. And now, if the network had come to me and they say, Dave, we'd like you to have this show, And then a week later they said, Dave, we don't want you to have the show. Then you could be angry about that.
Ironically, David Letterman just described the exact situation that Conan O'Brien would be put in 13 years later. Letterman felt slighted by NBC. He had been loyal to them for years and helped keep their ratings
Nepotism, man. It never changes no matter what.
up through the late
This is from 40 years ago almost. Actually 30, what am I saying? Yeah, this is from over 30 years ago, man.
hours of the evening. In 1993, he decided to leave NBC and accept an offer from CBS to host a new show, The Late Show with David Letterman. His NBC show aired at the 12:30 a.m. time slot, and now his CBS show would be moved to the coveted 11:35 p.m. time slot, airing at the exact same time as The Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
Ooh, make him duke it out.
Leno. NBC was worried about competing with Letterman. They knew he had a diehard fan base and would steal viewership from Jay Leno. They even threatened to sue Letterman if his new show was too similar to his old show, but his CBS show was virtually unchanged, taking most of the staff, skits, and comedy formats with him. And now with Letterman gone, NBC had to fill the void of their 12:30 a.m. time slot. Comedians Dana Carvey and Gary Shandling declined to host a show. SNL producer Lorne Michaels was brought in to develop the new show, while comedians Jon Stewart, Drew Carey, and Paul Provenza auditioned
Oh my god, Drew Carey. I remember that guy
to
too.
host. Unable to find a replacement, Michael suggested a former writer for SNL turned writer for The Simpsons, Conan O'Brien. When Michaels called about the producer-writer job, O'Brien remembers, "It just didn't feel right. I'd gone through this chaotic period, then done The Simpsons and gotten happy. Why would I jump into this situation when I knew whatever replaced Letterman would be in for a bumpy ride?"
But yeah, why did he do that? The Simpsons was an amazing gig for him. He carried the show a lot. Like, granted, there was a lot of really good writers. He was one of the main ones. There was like 3.
He backed out, Conan felt an immediate sense of relief. However, a couple weeks later, Michaels called to offer the position again. I wasn't thrilled. His then girlfriend Lisa Kudrow felt Conan would be perfect for the position. He's the smartest person I've ever
Woman alert, telling him to do something that he's not comfortable with.
met, the funniest person I've ever met, and he's also the best conversationalist. At any party, you can
She's gassing him up!
seat him with any group of people and get them talking. Conan convinced himself he was not fit for the job. "No, I am a writer. I just have to be happy with that. They won't want me." At that point in his life, Conan had less than 1 minute of television performance experience. Ultimately, he decided to audition for the show, where you can tell he didn't feel confident with his performance.
Again, thank you for coming.
How could I?
They threw being thrown in like that. That's like me getting thrown into national television. I do feel for him. I feel bad.
I miss an opportunity like
No. It's not often you get to share camera time with me.
this. There you go.
That's the end of
Oh, I feel bad.
my mock show. If that's all I ever get, it was a lot of fun. I had a good time.
In a surprising move, NBC offered late night
It's almost like he's playing a character, but he's actually scared. It's kind of funny. Yeah, that was so funny. It's almost like he's like playing a character. It's like, yeah.
to Conan O'Brien, a virtually unknown
That's
and
kinda
inexperienced writer who was about to do a nightly show in front of millions of viewers. Late Night with Conan O'Brien debuted on September 13th, 1993, with Andy Richter as O'Brien's sidekick. In the opening scene, Conan is shown walking to the studio with constant reminders that he must live up to Letterman's expectations.
Hey Conan, Tom Brokaw, I just want to be the first to welcome you to NBC.
Thanks, Tom.
And best of luck to you. Oh, and Conan, one more thing. You better be as good as Letterman. Or else.
In the opening skit, Conan proceeds to
So dry,
go
man.
to his dressing room and tie a around his neck, setting the tone for his willingness to take comedic risks
He made a Home Depot joke?
to go to his dressing room
That's
and tie a
strong.
knot
I like
around his
that.
neck, setting the tone for his willingness to take comedic risks on late-night television. Viewers were initially skeptical of Conan's comedic style, which was quirky, self-deprecating, and unconventional compared to his predecessor. The show's early episodes were marked by uneven pacing and experimental humor that didn't immediately resonate with mainstream audiences. Conan's nervous energy and inexperience as a performer were evident, leading to mixed reviews from
Well, yeah, you threw him in like he had no experience. I don't blame him at all. Yeah, I don't know.
critics. The Washington
sucks.
Post Tom Shales wrote, "As for O'Brien, the young man is a living collage of annoying nervous habits. He giggles and titters, jiggles about and fiddles with his cuffs. He has dark, beady little eyes like a rabbit. He's one of the whitest white men ever." And back then,
Whoa, that is so mean.
a critic's review of a TV show could genuinely impact somebody's career. He was under so much pressure that he had to defend himself
That's what game dev journalists think they do. They think they're just as cool as the people that wrote like actual criticisms back then.
on television while being interviewed by Charlie Rose.
Well, I think one thing that's, I wouldn't want to get, I do things, I have tics and mannerisms, and I think sometimes there's a tendency these days to think we've got to get rid of all of those and be just a completely smooth
Plastic.
performer. And what I think is nice is, no, my voice isn't perfect for TV. I mean, can't you tell? It's there are things about me that aren't perfect for TV. There
What? I wouldn't say that. I think he's soft
are
spoken.
times when you can see that I'm just, a little thrown, or you can see that I have that I touch my nose, or I do something like that. And sometimes I think, don't get rid of all that. In a way, I think I'm just a real person, and
Because it
doesn't.
makes you authentic.
Yeah, it's relatable.
Yeah, I think it's real. If this, I say, if for any reason down the road, NBC would decide, well, this show didn't work, I'm proud. I think the humor reflects my sensibility. I think.
Again, I think relatability is an extremely important factor with like any entertainment performance. Everybody knows you're putting on a performance, and people know that like if you're a rich actor, you're a rich actor. But if you act, not even act, like you have a shred of relatability. Like I used to be an average Joe Schmo, blah blah blah. Like I feel like people really resonate with that, even if they know that you are, a Hollywood actor.
I think we're going for the music and the guests that reflect my
Same with
sensibility for the
comedians
most part.
probably too.
And we're doing the show I wanted to do.
While Conan seemed neutral about the criticism, he would later admit that reading Tom Shales' critique of him was a dark moment in his life.
I can imagine when he was. I imagine, dude. How old was he back then? Hold on. Conan O'Brien. Age. Yeah, he's 30 years old. Yeah, if I read something like that, if I was 30, like I would I'd be so upset. Yeah, I'd just be like,
Get in
my
like
fucking
this town car,
heart.
me and my people, everyone is silent. And we get to work, and I quietly go to my office, and no one in the office is saying anything. And I go into my office, and I shut the door, and I got on the floor, and I climbed underneath the desk and just lay there. And at one point, after a while, someone on the show leaned in and saw just my legs coming out from underneath the desk. And then the next thing I know, Jeff Ross, our executive producer, is just leaning in, going like, "You okay? Everything all right?" And from underneath the desk, I just said, "I'm fine. I just need to lie here under the desk for a while. I'll start having meetings in like 10 minutes."
Oh, I do feel bad for him in a way. I do.
That to me is like when the needle got to the lowest.
But he hung in there, and toward the end of the 90s, Conan O'Brien slowly started winning over his audience. If Letterman and Leno were for the dads that worked all day, then Conan was for the 90s kids who were staying up even later than their parents to indulge in his wacky humor. Near the turn of the century, NBC had a powerhouse network that consisted of Leno hosting The Tonight Show at 11:35, O'Brien hosting Late Night at 12:35 and SNL on the weekend. Despite becoming a valuable asset to the network, NBC was unwilling to pay O'Brien on the same scale as other late-night hosts. With less than
They don't like him, Chad.
1 year left on his contract, Conan began receiving offers from other networks, including Fox, who made a considerable effort to lure him away from NBC, interested in his appeal to a younger late-night demographic. News Corporation chairman and CEO Peter Chernin pursued him personally, taking him and executive producer Jeff Ross to dinner on several occasions. Fox intended to make Conan the face of the network, with his show beginning 30 minutes before Leno's and Letterman's. Conan would be cross-promoted on Fox's animated programming block and on Sunday NFL games. He was also offered a
That's actually such a huge deal. Unironically, people probably don't understand this, but like being promoted outside of your field, like before like footballers and stuff like that, is a major deal in network companies.
Significant pay increase from $3 million to $21 million. Fox was ready to outbid any network if it meant acquiring Conan. They really believed in him. And while the network did everything possible to sway him, NBC executives were optimistic that O'Brien wouldn't budge and offered him a more realistic deal that included a salary increase from $3 million to $8 million. $3
million? That's already a lot of money. What the fuck?
While renewing his contract through 2005. At the time, this decision seemed like a no-brainer. O'Brien's professional advisors and managers pushed for the Fox deal. However, Conan wasn't sold. He, like many comedians of his generation, grew up watching The Tonight Show and idolizing Johnny Carson. Conan desired to be Leno's successor and one day host The Tonight Show, and moving to Fox would make that dream nearly impossible. Conan denied the extremely lucrative Fox deal and signed a new deal with NBC in 2002. He chose tradition and legacy over money.
Here's the other thing. I never made a decision in my career based on money, not once. I'm not gonna lie, it's nice to have money.
Right.
But I've also not had money, and I'm okay with that. I really wanted to keep my body of work. All I ever wanted was a body of work. My body of work is like the most important thing to me.
It's your legacy.
It's my legacy, and I've put so much into it, and I'm really proud of the good stuff. I'm very proud of. And so the idea of leaving NBC on bad terms, or leaving and not having access to 16 years of work that I'm incredibly proud of, was crushing to me. So I do not regret anything.
However, in 2004, there was an amendment to Conan's deal. This amendment officially promised O'Brien that he'd get to host The Tonight Show after a 5-year waiting period, which would mean that Conan would be essentially passed the torch in 2009. As you can imagine, this put Jay Leno in a weird spot. It was 2004, and basically the network was saying, hey, you're gonna be fired in 5 years.
Again, I feel like passing down the torch when you have so much money, it's like, why do you really give a fuck, honestly? You're old as fuck. You should retire probably at some point. It's like, I don't know. You got a lot of dosh. Why do you need more?
By that point, Jay Leno would have been 59 years old, and even he admitted that he should do the right thing and pass the torch over to Conan.
This is not tomorrow. It's 5 years from today, and I want to say I don't think there's a better choice. Because, you know, when I took this show over, boy, there was a lot of animosity between me and Dave and who's going to get it. And quite frankly, a lot of what I thought, well, good friendships were permanently damaged. And I don't want to see anybody ever have to go through that again. Because this show is like a dynasty. You hold it, and then you hand it off to the next person. And I don't want to see all the fighting and all.
Except you don't die. That's the thing. With a dynasty, like it's an emperor dying and you pass it down, you're gonna get pissed seeing your show being ran by someone else.
Who's better, and nasty things back and forth in the press. So right now, here it is. Conan, it's yours. See you in 5 years, buddy. Okay.
Even though Leno seemed to have the right mentality, behind the scenes he was upset.
He's pissed.
Compared his removal from The Tonight Show to the end of a relationship, noting that he was loyal and still ended up heartbroken. From his perspective, the decision made no sense. He was still number one in the ratings and consistently brought in the network money.
I ever tell you what they said to me? I said, I'm number one. You know what they said?
Jay.
We want what's above number one.
No.
Yes, that's my favorite quote.
No.
And I went,
come on.
What's above number one? I said, we're number one. We're winning in every demographic group. I know, but we want what's above that.
Leno is still...
Well, yeah, they're corpos. They're not your friends. I really don't. Like, at the end of the day, Jay Leno, you're just a puppet to them, man. You make money.
Adamant to this day that he was forced to agree with this deal. He wasn't given any other option, and he did not want to retire. Howard Stern was a guest on Conan's show in 2006 and warned him that Leno would not give up his show in 2009.
I don't see this guy leaving and letting you walk in, and I'm concerned about you.
You're concerned.
Uh-oh. Well, that's foreshadowing.
What about me?
This is a big...
You know what? I'm very philosophical about it. First of all, it's many years off. I think it's still 11 years away.
Is it?
Jay will be like in his late 80s. I will be like 75 when this thing goes down.
This is a guy who stares at the wall all day, Jay Leno. He waits to go to work. You know, he doesn't like to do anything but work. I don't even know if he has sex with his wife. I don't know what's going on. So this is going to be very... What do you mean, oh? This is comedy fact. Everybody knows it.
I like this guy.
They were laughing, but Howard was not joking. Leno is notorious for never not working. Several times, he asked NBC if they would hire a separate writing and production staff for the 8 weeks the regular Tonight Show staff took off, so he could work every week year-round.
So he's a workaholic, huh? Yikes.
Beyond the 46 weeks he worked...
Look, I understand that. When I have my weekend, I feel kind of almost lost in some way. I feel like I should be streaming and doing something, but I have to rest. It's really unhealthy, man.
On television, Leno still performed about 160 stand-up comedy dates a year. But as we got closer to the transition, NBC executives began to get cold feet. By 2007, Jeff Zucker started to consider the potential consequences of losing Leno for the network. Around this time, Fox and ABC were showing interest in Jay as private negotiations took place behind the scenes. Now, the normal and expected thing for Leno to do would be to just do what Letterman did in '93. David didn't get the job, so he moved to CBS and got his show at the 11:35 time slot and started competing with Leno. So then in 2009, Leno could let Conan take over and then go to ABC or Fox and still keep his 11:35 p.m. time slot and just start competing with Conan. But Jay Leno did not want to give up his show. And
yeah, I don't know, man. You always lose a chunk if you go to another show, right? But like your fans, and if you're funnier, will follow, and you will gain a greater following. Again, this is all about ego.
NBC wasn't necessarily trying to kick him out either, which was a recipe for disaster. You see, NBC wanted to profit off Leno and Conan, but they had no idea how to make them both happy. By 2008, Zucker began making attempts to keep Jay. He gave numerous suggestions, including high-profile specials, a Sunday night primetime show, or even a nightly cable show on USA Network. Jay kept denying all offers. And he also had a very special way of never expressing his true feelings. Like, he would never just openly say, "I don't want to give up my show," but instead he would strongly hint at it. Like in 2008 when he said, "When you do what I do, it's sort of a populist thing, so when you're not number one, you really lose." I kind of watched Howard Stern. On radio, Howard to me was a populist, the truck driver the average guy would listen to in the cafe. Truck, the old car that's 50 years old and still has an AM radio. Then he went to Sirius, and obviously it was a lot of money, but I don't hear him quoted anymore. People don't say, "Hey, did you hear what Howard said today?" And I'm sure he's still doing what he always does, but to me, that seemed a mistake. It seems like Jay is saying that if he...
Is Howard Stern the guy that was talking to him and warned him? That's the same guy, right?
Left the Tonight Show, he would no longer be number one and would drastically lose his relevance as a comedian and a celebrity.
Yeah, because you inherited like the biggest show ever. Like, what?
It's true and understandable
Obviously.
why he wouldn't want to be in that situation. Jay often expressed his #1 status. He could not stop mentioning it to the world.
Let's start in 2004. 2004, I'm sitting in my office, an NBC executive comes in and says to me, listen, Conan O'Brien has gotten offers from other networks, and we don't want him to go, so we're going to give him the Tonight Show. And I said, well, I've been #1 for 12 years. They said, we know that, but we don't think you can sustain that. I said, okay, how about until I fall to #2, then you fire me? No, we've made this decision.
Dude, his ego is so bad.
I said, that's fine.
However, many argued that the only reason Jay was #1 was because of the legacy he overtook, the 3-decade powerhouse of dominance built by Johnny Carson that was just handed to him. If Johnny Carson was like Steve Jobs, building the most innovative and revolutionary tech company in the world, Jay Leno was like Tim Cook. All he needed to do was just maintain the empire that was given to him.
Exactly.
Jay was told 5 years ago that it was his turn to give up the driver's seat, right?
Right.
That is not his bus. That's a 60-year bus that's been driving around the country, the Tonight Show, and if you're lucky enough to get to drive it, when they say, hey, you're done, you give the keys back and you say thank you. You don't flatten the tires of the guy who comes next.
Jay eventually
Yes, that's actually a really good point.
agreed, again, to give up the Tonight Show. But he didn't leave NBC. Zucker offered Jay Leno a nightly 10 p.m. program. On December 8th, 2008, Leno informed ABC and Fox that he intended to stay with NBC, where he would produce a nightly 10 p.m. variety show titled The Jay Leno Show. And on Friday, May
Oh yeah, when he started doing spin-offs, you knew he was getting like he was going crazy.
29th, 2009, Jay Leno did his final Tonight Show. He interviewed Conan and did a respectable handing over of the torch.
Listen, I know you got to get back to your studio because I know you guys are doing more test shows. I just want to say I couldn't be happier. You were the only choice. You were the perfect choice. You have been an absolute
little two-faced snake
gentleman in private and in the press. I agree. Conan rocks. Good luck next week, my friend.
Jay, thank you for everything.
In reality, he wants to strangle him. Bro.
Leno ended the episode by asking viewers to please give Conan as much support as you've given me throughout the years. But this was just the beginning of the most chaotic and corrupt 7-month stretch in entertainment history. On June 1st, 2009, The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien debuted to an audience of over 9 million viewers.
I remember, oh man. I remember I was not in America at the time, and I remember it being a massive deal. A massive deal. They re-aired like the show happening on other channels because like we didn't have NBC or whatever wherever they played this. They replayed this and said it was a really big deal. All right, thank you. I'm gonna mute those. Thank you very much for ruining it for everyone. Good job.
Performing exceptionally well in the highly sought-after young demographics. Ironically, his first guest, Will Ferrell, predicted Conan's early demise on the very first episode.
This is the first show, the first Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien. It's not a.
No, look,
goodbye.
Don't get me wrong, I'm pulling for you, man.
Yeah.
But this whole thing's a crapshoot at best. You know? We got some shaky studio execs back there waiting to pull the plug at any second.
All right.
Critics seemed about 50-50 on Conan's first show. One described him as painfully unfunny, whereas Tom Shales of the Washington Post wrote, "There's every indication that O'Brien will be up to the job of his illustrious predecessors." But as the show aired each night, older viewers gradually began tuning out. Now, this was expected, but viewers dropped so low that The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien was surpassed by The Late Show with David
Corpos do not like losing money.
Letterman, which hadn't happened in about a decade. While Zucker assured Conan that a drop in viewership was inevitable, executives at NBC began to worry. Over time, Zucker became frustrated.
But that's natural, though. He's a new personality. That's what sucks about it. You can't really fill someone else's shoe. You're not an identical clone of the person you're, like, quote-unquote, succeeding. It's annoying.
with O'Brien's performance as what he regarded as the booking of the wrong stars. In June of 2009, controversy ensued after David Letterman joked about politician Sarah Palin's family. Zucker, who wanted to capitalize on the situation, advised Conan to bring Sarah Palin on the show in a desperate attempt to boost viewership. Not wanting to pander to certain audiences or hurt his relationship with Letterman, Conan declined, and this decision reportedly drove Zucker nuts. Letterman maintained higher viewership than Conan for the foreseeable future. And it's not that Conan was a bad host or that his show was bad, it's just that it was entirely different than Jay Leno's version of The Tonight Show, which had previously been on for 17 years. The audience...
Well, yeah, and then also the old people that grew up with Jay Leno, they don't want to watch some new guy that's younger than him. The humor doesn't really translate very well most of the time.
Needed a little time to adjust. Jay Leno was more of a stand-up comedian who thrived in observational humor. His opening monologues were sometimes 13 minutes long, like you were getting a stand-up special every night. His famous bits were not deep or comically risky, but rather simple and quick jokes that every dad in America could understand. Like his headline segment where he read silly headlines from local newspapers across America.
Dude, that is such dad humor for sure, actually.
There's some good ones here. I remember these. This is one of my favorites. Miracle cure kills fifth patient. You know!
It's the Reddit moment.
Want to rethink? Okay, here's a company that's behind the whole energy thing way ahead of everyone else. Gas company behind Bean Supper. There you are right there.
So bad, bro.
I like this one. Poverty
so
meeting
bad.
attracts poor turnout. Really?
Oh my god. I'm gonna die
Conan,
of cringe.
on the other hand, approached late night TV like a sketch
that's terrible.
comedy writer would. His show felt more comparable to SNL rather than Letterman.
Our guests don't get paid a cent.
Hey, it's that guy! It's that famous actor. What's his name?
Conan was considered by Leno's fan base, as that is mostly who he was broadcasting to be kind of cringy. The Tonight Show audience was perhaps too mainstream for Conan's off-the-wall humor. But the youth loved him, and NBC knew that
the youth.
Investing in Conan
Chad, do you remember being youthful?
was probably better for the longevity of the show, as Jay Leno was getting old. And that's where people suspect that Jay was intentionally sabotaging Conan behind the scenes. Part of the reason why Leno was willing to give The Tonight Show to Conan was because NBC gave him a new show called The Jay Leno Show at 10 p.m. So the new NBC TV schedule was...
Yeah, because all the old people can't stay up at 11:30. All the old people... They're like, all right, we'll give you a 10 p.m. one because, you know, old people gotta go to bed at 10:30.
Jay Leno Show at 10 p.m., local news at 11 p.m., then Tonight Show with Conan at 11:35 p.m. The Jay Leno Show was not different than The Tonight Show with Jay Leno at all. It was him doing monologues, sitting down with celebrity guests, all in front of a live studio audience. He took the late night format and put it on at 10 p.m., which had never been done before. Many people felt like Jay was essentially trying to recreate The Tonight Show, put it on at 10 p.m. so his fans would go and watch him instead of waiting up all the way until 11:35 to watch Conan.
Completely sabotaged him. By going on at 10 o'clock, they gave Jay all the best guests.
Right.
They took away all of Conan O'Brien's excitement and thunder.
Right. And then there's also no...
However, when Leno tells the story, he makes it seem like he didn't even want to do it, and the network would not let him out of a contract.
Okay, but I'm leaving before my contract is out, about 6 to 8 months early. So before I could go anywhere else...
He's such a rat dog.
It would be at least a year or 18 months before I could go and do a show somewhere else. I said to NBC, would you release it from my contract? They said, no, we want to keep you here. I said, well, okay. What are your ideas? They said, well, how about prime time? I said, well, that'll never work. They said, no, we want to put you on at 10. We have done focus groups. People will love you at 10. Well, I don't know. It didn't seem like...
Yeah, the old people.
a good idea, Dad. I said, all right. I said, can I keep my staff? There's 175 people that work here. They said, can I keep my staff? I said, yes, you can. Okay, let's try it. We guarantee you.
Wait, that's so unfair, keeping the staff too.
2 years on the air, guaranteed. Now, for the first 4 or 5 months, when you're against original shows like CSI, you'll get killed. But in the spring and the summer, when the reruns come, that's when you'll pick up. Okay, great.
The Jay Leno Show started strong, racking up 17.7 million viewers and surpassing Conan's Tonight debut in both overall numbers and young demographic.
Well, yeah, it's like an old VTuber debuting. Of course, you're gonna pull more numbers than like a cool new VTuber that people are excited for. That's natural.
However, like Conan, Leno's ratings began slipping fast. By the show's second week, the show saw a noticeable decline to 5 million viewers, placing immense pressure on the network. Jay Leno's low viewership had a domino effect on all of the shows afterwards. His show was so bad, even the local news was losing viewership.
The late-night shakeup comes, say executives, after NBC's affiliates began crying foul. Despite Leno's repeated plugs,
Your local news starts right now.
Those local newscasts are suffering, down on average 30%.
30%? I thought maybe like 5 or 6. 30%?
In the ratings since Leno became their leading.
Everyone was blaming Leno for driving down NBC's ratings, but it only got worse. Leno appeared in an October 29, 2009 interview with Broadcasting and Cable where he expressed his willingness to return to his original 11:35 p.m. time slot if offered by the network. He was essentially proposing the idea to take the Jay Leno Show that was failing at 10 p.m., move it to 11:35 p.m., and then take the Tonight Show and move it from 11:35 to 12:05. Keep in mind that they're
pushing him back even more. Dude, this is ratatata behavior, man. Thank God, man. Dude, I had no idea that Jay Leno was such a rat.
Tonight Show aired at 11:35 p.m. after the local news for 60 years straight. Therefore, most people at that point felt that Jay should have said, "Let me not disrupt the honor and the tradition of the Tonight Show. Let me just take my L and bow out." But Leno tells the story again like the network was holding him hostage and that Conan was okay with this.
Yeah, right. You're the diva.
They come and they go, "Listen, this show isn't working. We want to let you go. Can I get out of my contract?" They go, "No, you're still a valuable asset to the company." "How valuable can I be? You fired me twice. How valuable can I be?" I said, "What's your idea?" They said, "Well, look, how about you do a half-hour show at 11:30? Now, where I come from, when the boss gives you a job and you don't do it well, I think we did a good job here, but we didn't get the ratings. Okay, so you get humbled." I said, "Okay, I'm not crazy about doing a half hour, but okay. What do you want to do with Conan? We'll put him on at midnight or 12:05. He keeps the..."
You act like they didn't have Fox ask Conan, a new guy, and bent over backwards to please him to try and get him on his network, on their network. And you're acting like you're not the diva of their network with your massive show. You're still... I don't buy it. It makes no sense to
Tonight
me.
Show does all that. He gets the whole hour. I said, "Okay, you think Conan will go for that?" "Yes, yes, almost guaranteed." I said, "Okay, shake hands, that's it."
When very poor ratings came in for the November sweeps period, NBC affiliates became alarmed, and the network's board members demanded something be done regarding the 10 p.m. lead-in. It had only been 5 months since Conan took over The Tonight Show, and 3 months since Jay launched his new show. But apparently the network was on the brink of collapse. If something were not done by January, the affiliates reasoned, they would instate syndicated programming or move up their news broadcasts and remove the Jay Leno Show. Somehow, news outlets learned about NBC's time slot shift, informing the public before Conan. TMZ reported on the story with a headline reading, "NBC Shakeup, Jay Leno comes out on top." Conan was obviously pissed off, feeling like a decision was made before ever consulting him. It seemed like the obvious answer was just get rid of Jay Leno. It's gonna take time for audiences to warm up to Conan. But it's not like Conan was a rookie. He had been hosting his own late night show for 15 years at that point. But for whatever reason, the network just didn't seem to prioritize Conan. They
They want money. They want the moolah.
only seemed to make decisions based on Jay Leno's wants and needs. So after just 7 months of hosting The Tonight Show, a dream he had looked forward to since his very first debut, he decided it would be best if he just stepped down. On January 21st...
What? It's only been barely a year and he tried to step down? Yo, what's up? Shifting the Hi! Do you guys know about Conan O'Brien and Jay Leno? We're watching about that.
1st, 2010, Conan released his People of Earth letter in which he explained his refusal to host The Tonight Show at 12:05 a.m., citing concerns about undermining the legacy of The Tonight Show, which had always aired at 11:35 p.m. In the last few days, I've been getting a lot of sympathy calls, and I want to start by making it clear that no one should waste a second feeling sorry for me. For 17 years, I've been getting paid to do what I love the most, and in a world with real problems, I've been absurdly lucky. That said, I've been suddenly put in a very public predicament, and my bosses are demanding an immediate decision. For 60 years, The Tonight Show has been aired immediately following the late local news. I sincerely believe that delaying The Tonight Show into the next day to accommodate another comedy program will seriously damage what I consider to be the greatest franchise in the history of broadcasting.
It's fine to break tradition, but then there's also the answer to, like, is it really worth breaking tradition to something that people have been used to and losing an audience that's been probably glued to their TV for like 50 years, if not more?
Tonight Show at 12:05 simply isn't The Tonight Show.
10 years
also,
plus.
if I accept this move, I will be knocking the Late Night Show, which I inherited from David Letterman and passed on to Jimmy Fallon, out of its long-held time slot. That would hurt the other NBC franchise that I love, and it would be unfair to Jimmy. So it has come to this. I cannot express in words how much I enjoy hosting this program and what an enormous personal disappointment it is for me to consider losing it. My staff and I have worked unbelievably hard, and we are very proud of our contribution to the legacy of The Tonight Show, but I cannot participate in what I honestly believe is its destruction. This letter changed the tone. This wasn't just Conan saying no, it was Conan saying no, and you're wrong, and go fuck yourself. But on January 13th, 2010, Conan gave an unforgettable statement to the entire world in his opening monologue, one that would be remembered for generations.
You know, I'm trying very hard to stay positive here, and I want to tell you something. This is honest. Hosting The Tonight Show has been the fulfillment of a lifelong dream for me. And I just want to say to the kids out there watching, you can do anything you want in life.
Oh, yeah. Chad, you hear that?
Jay Leno wants to do it too.
This quote effectively summarized this entire war.
Dude, he fucking pulled out his pants and took a shit on him in front of a million people, probably.
And it cut through Jay Leno like a knife. The public response to the late night wars of 2010 was largely sympathetic towards Conan. Many saw him as the victim of a corporate mishandling of late night TV. People admired his integrity and willingness to walk away rather than compromise the show's legacy. Amid the controversy, social media users showed overwhelming support for O'Brien. Over 1 million.
Well, that, and also another thing is that, again, because he had a younger audience, they were on Twitter. Like, Twitter wasn't even that popular back in 2010, but still, like, I feel like, yeah, obviously they're going to be more active.
People joined 2 Facebook groups supporting O'Brien, Team Conan and I'm with Coco. Ratings for The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien skyrocketed, and the viral support for Conan only increased by the week of his final shows. Nationwide, there were protests in favor of O'Brien outside NBC studios in New York, LA, Chicago, and Seattle. At a rally on January 18th, Conan made a brief appearance outside The Tonight Show studio, where he gave the crowd free pizza. In a poster reminiscent of the Obama Hope poster, artist Mike Mitchell superimposed an image of O'Brien with the words I'm with Coco and an American flag in the background. The poster was widely circulated and displayed online at various rallies. As if it couldn't get any crazier, Jay Leno
He knew how to play the crowd better than Jay, man.
Was to be named the host of The Tonight Show again. The man who promised in 2004 to pass the torch to Conan, then reluctantly did in 2009, and 7 months later he came crawling back for his spot on the throne. He could not just give up.
I had a show, my show got canceled. They weren't happy with the other guy's show. They said, we want you to go back. I said, okay. And this seemed to make a lot of people really upset.
But again, it didn't get canceled. You passed it down. It's not about canceling. Canceling would imply that the Tonight Show like failed and you need to go, kind of thing. Yeah, he's like really playing the pity card really well.
And I go, well, Who wouldn't take that job, though? Who wouldn't do that?
Conan wouldn't do that. Nobody sided with Leno. He became the butt of many jokes, and if you couldn't tell by now, Letterman wasn't really fond of him either.
I'm telling jokes and making fun of Jay Leno over and over and over, relentlessly, mercilessly, simply for one reason, and that is, I'm really enjoying it.
Jimmy Kimmel also did an entire monologue dressed up as and acting
He's just fucking laughing at him,
like
though.
Leno.
Great to be here on ABC. Hey, Cleto, you know what ABC stands for?
I know, man. I do, man.
Always bump Conan. That's right.
Look, I don't like Jimmy at all, but this is pretty fucking funny.
Jay saw the bit and decided to invite Jimmy onto his show, and Jimmy proceeded to absolutely roast Leno on his own show.
Never order anything off the TV.
No shot.
Like NBC ordered your show off the TV?
Yeah,
no. Strippers I don't like in general because you have this phony relationship with them for money. Similar to that of when you and Conan were on the Tonight Show together, passing the torch.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Jesus
we
Christ.
have lives to lead here. You've got $800 million.
On January 21st, 2010, Conan received a $45 million buyout in exchange for leaving NBC, $33 million for him, and $12 million in severance pay for his staff. Conan also paid around 50 stagehands and various crew members at least 6 weeks severance
Out of his own pocket? Out of his own pocket, too. Damn.
pay out of his own pocket. In his final moments on air, Conan decided to go out with grace and class.
Yes, we have our differences right now. Yes, we're going our separate ways. But this company has been my home for most of my adult life. I am enormously proud of the work we've done together, and I want to thank NBC for making it all possible. I have something to say to our fans. Here's what all of you have done. You made a sad situation joyous and inspirational. So to all the people watching, I can never, ever thank you enough for the kindness to me. I'll think about it for the rest of my life. Nobody in life gets exactly what they thought they were going to get. But if you work really hard and you're kind, amazing things will happen. I'm telling you, amazing things will happen.
Conan's final...
I might be biased, but I genuinely think he's just the better comedian out of, like at least a handful of these people that do this kind of thing. He wrote the old Simpsons, and I have a really big soft spot for them, for sure. Like, I don't know about Jimmy Kimmel, I just don't like his humor. I think he's Shelley doesn't, I don't know, it's just his jokes fall flat with me. That's fine. Humor is also subjective, in my opinion, so, like, you're allowed to say, oh, no, Alana, you're dumb, but, like, ultimately, I think he's the better one. Sorry.
Episode drew 10.3 million viewers. Not only did O'Brien's final show beat all late night competition, it outscored all primetime shows in the 18 to 49 demographic from that night and the night before. On March 1st, 2010, NBC confirmed that Jay Leno would officially resume as the host of The Tonight Show. 1 month later, Conan signed with TBS to produce the late night talk show Conan. The program debuted on the network in November, premiering to 4 million viewers. Leno's return to The Tonight Show accumulated 6.6 million viewers. He once again beat out Letterman for much of his run, remaining back at the #1 spot for many years after. From a business perspective, NBC made the right decision. They saved their show and they saved their ratings.
The biggest thing people come up and say to me in gas stations and restaurants, I have so many people say this to me, hey, partner, you got screwed. And I always tell them, no, I didn't. I didn't get screwed.
Man, he's humble.
It didn't work out.
Oh, you did get screwed.
You think I got screwed.
Well,
he's so humble, dude. The guy in 60 Minutes is like, you got fucked, kid. And he's like, oh, no, I didn't. Haha.
I think most.
Whereas Jay Leno was fucking talking about his boss fucking him over, man.
People think you got screwed. I mean, Jay Leno thinks you got screwed. Jay Leno thinks he got screwed.
How did he get screwed?
How How did he screw up? Excuse me.
In 2012, Conan
That's
said
funny,
that he
dude.
had not talked to Jay since. The odds are we will both leave this earth without speaking to each other, which is fine. There's really nothing to say. We both know the
True.
deal. He knows, I know, I'd rather just forget. In 2014,
Fair enough.
Leno was still number one, but now he was much older, and the network wanted to usher in a younger and fresher face to take over The Tonight Show. Jimmy Fallon. But this time, Jay Leno totally understood why.
You would have preferred to stay. Well,
Yeah, there's Jimmy Fallon,
Sure
yeah.
it is. Sure it is. But am I
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon. That's a different man. That's a boo. He's the worst out of all of them. 100%.
Understand the circumstance? Yes, of course.
100%.
This is the part I don't understand. I mean, you're still number one.
I think because you have talented people only wait so long before they get other opportunities, and you don't want to lose that opportunity. That makes sense to me. And I thought Jimmy has been extremely gracious and polite.
You said all of the same things exactly about Conan.
Huh? Did I say the same things?
Yeah.
Probably. Well, maybe I did.
It's easy to see how Conan got the short end of the stick, even though the short end was a $33 million payday and a brand new show on TBS where he was able to do literally whatever he wanted. It's pretty clear that Jay did not want to give up The Tonight Show, and he plays dumb, but he had to know that his 10 p.m. talk show would kill The Tonight Show's ratings, right?
Yeah, he literally threw him under the bus because he wanted to have it for himself. It's essentially the old saying, if I can't have it, nobody can. Classic, like, I'm gonna stab her because I don't want anyone else to have her kind of thing.
So did he really try to sabotage Conan on purpose, or was he honestly just following his boss's lead? In this classic hero versus villain story, it's way sexier and easier to just point the blame at Leno. But it's painfully obvious the real villain is NBC. Once again,
Yes. However, you can also be graceful and not be a dickhead and throw everyone under the bus. Yeah, I don't know. Like, yes, corpos, fuck corpos, and essentially he did do, like, he pulled the trigger. They handed him a gun and he pulled the trigger.
and the corporate executives operating in the shadows receive all of the financial upside and never have to face any of the criticism.
That was fun. That reminded me of 2010. So long ago, chat. 14 years. I'm gonna throw up. Check him out, Patrick. Very nice video. Very, very cool. Very nice. La, 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 la.